approach for left back Wonderkid, more uncertainty about Erik ten Hag's future at Manchester United, and all of your latest transfer news as well. These are just some of the topics we will be discussing on this morning's live show. But before we get into that, please do me one small favour. Smash a like on today's video. Let's try and see 200 likes on today's show. And if this is your first time watching, please do subscribe to the channel as well. We are live every single day at 11 a.m. UK time and 6 p.m. UK time as well. And if anything breaks during the day, I do go live. So make sure you subscribe. We're only a couple away from 23,000. So yeah, if you want to keep up to date throughout the transfer window on all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk, this is the place to be. Subscribe to Data Red Devil and get involved with this amazing community. Right, let's crack on with the show then. Honestly, we've got so much to get into on the show this morning. It's just, the news around Man United is just coming thick and fast. It's non-stop. It's constant. But before we do that, I've got a question for you. I like to try and make it interactive. I like to try and get the community involved. And effectively, I just want to know what other Man United fans are thinking. That was part of the reason of setting up this channel, to have conversation with other United fans, right? So the question I've got for you today is this. If INEOS decide to sack Erik ten Hag, will you lose faith in them? I want you to get in the comment section. I want you to let me know. So you can either say, yes, I will lose faith in INEOS, or no, I won't lose faith in INEOS. Or you can just write yes or no if you can't be bothered to type out all the rest of it. But it's a simple question. I mean, obviously, if you want Erik ten Hag to be sacked, then I guess the answer would be no. And if you want Erik ten Hag to stay, then the answer would be yes. But it would be interesting to hear from people who want Erik ten Hag to stay, but would say, no, I won't lose faith in them. And I'm going to give you my answer as well, because obviously I can't ask the question without answering it myself. Now, it's a difficult one to answer. And I know a yes or no answer is a little bit, doesn't really give the full picture. I think I would lose faith with them in a sense, because it's not what the fan base want. You know, 80 to 85% of this fan base want Erik ten Hag to stay. That's been evident across multiple polls, on multiple channels, on, you know, all over the internet. Different people with different platforms have done polls. And it's always been above 80% want Erik ten Hag to stay. Now, the reason we want Erik ten Hag to stay is because he's won 2 trophies back to back for the first time since Sir Alex Ferguson. He's dealt with all of these issues, in my opinion, very well. He hasn't really complained about the owners. He's not, thrown the owners under the bus. He's not fallen out with the owners. I think he's trying to instill an elite mentality in that squad. And there's a lot of players in that squad who don't have an elite mentality. Obviously, there are things bad as well. His signings have been questionable and blah, blah, blah. Like, there are issues. But for me personally, he's done enough to warrant another season at Manchester United. I think when you look at Arteta, it took Arteta till, I think, the 4th season to even get top 4 at Arsenal. 3 seasons, I think they finished 8th, and 6th and won 1 trophy. So Ten Hag has way out-achieved Arteta, and he's only been here 2 years. He's won 2 trophies and got top 4. It took Arteta 4 years to even get top 4. So I think, and a lot of people always look at Arteta as that example where, people say he's a good manager now, he's doing well, but it took him 4 or 5 years. When he first came in, there was people like Lacazette, Aubameyang, David Luiz. The list goes on and on and on and on of the players who were at Arsenal that it took them, 2 or 3 years to get rid of. And I think this is the same with Manchester United. I think we're at a pivotal moment in our history where either we back a manager and we go into the 3rd year of a project, with the goal of winning the Europa League and getting top 4. That would be the target for me for next season. Or we start the project from fresh. Now, I wanted to bring you up to speed with what's going on. Apparently, this is the latest news that I've been given this morning, okay, about Erik ten Hag and about INEOS. Now, I spoke about this a little bit on the show last night, but at that point, it was just a theory. This has been told. I've been told this by somebody else now. INEOS effectively are looking for a coach. They don't want a manager. Now, people are probably a little bit confused about what I'm saying here. There's a big difference between a head coach and a manager. I know they're just words, but the words actually carry a lot of weight. Now, a manager has generally a lot of authority. They have a say, a large part on the transfers. They decide when the players train. They, all sorts of different things. They have a really, really big say. Whereas a head coach, 9 times out of 10 is given the players. Pep Guardiola doesn't sign the players at Man City. Pep Guardiola is a coach. He's an unbelievable coach. And, and He's good with man management and all the rest of it. But Pep Guardiola doesn't pick who the players that go to Man City are. Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp didn't pick who the players were. He was given players. Now, my understanding is that this is what INEOS want to do at Manchester United, which, being completely honest, is the correct thing to do. Okay? It is. That's how top clubs are run. The manager shouldn't be saying, Erik ten Hag in this example, let's sign Anthony, let's sign Onana, let's sign Martinez, let's sign Eriksen. Like, some of them have worked out well, okay? But there's a common trend here. All of these players are people who've played at Ajax, most of which under Erik ten Hag. Mason Mount, apparently, Erik ten Hag saw him when he was on loan in the Eredivisie, and that's why he wanted to sign him. Like, there's this direct link, and all of these people are Erik ten Hag's people, opposed to Manchester United's people. Does that make sense? Like, it's a bit of a weird one when you actually break it down and when you look at how other top clubs are run. Like Ancelotti at Real Madrid, he's just given players, you know? He's given players. He's told how he wants to play. Ancelotti doesn't decide the style of play. That will be dictated by the people above him, you know, the directors of football, the technical directors, etc. And that's exactly how INEOS want Manchester United to be run going forward. And the thing I'm hearing this morning is that Erik ten Hag doesn't really want that, because when he joined Manchester United, his agreement with the Glazers was that he would have a veto on transfers. He would, you know, have all of this involvement and all the rest of it. And I think INEOS are wanting to take that away from him, which probably is the correct decision, to be completely honest. Like, if all the other clubs don't do that, then why are we, you know, not going to follow that model and say, Erik ten Hag, you do whatever you want? So there is a slightly different angle to look at this whole thing now, is that maybe Erik ten Hag isn't happy to do what INEOS say, but I think he is happy to do what INEOS say personally. And this bit's just my opinion. I think, you know, Erik ten Hag doesn't seem like the man to walk away from a project. I think he's pretty deep into the project now, and I think he can see that, you know, with Sir Dave Brailsford, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, etc., there is a strong team around them, and now he has people to rely on. Whereas when it was before, when he joined, it was John Murtough and Richard Arnold, who, let's be honest, they're business people. They're not football people. They didn't have a director of football. We didn't, you know, like, it's a completely different situation now. And I think Erik ten Hag would actually work really well in this new managerial setup. It's just really complicated because, as I said, contractually, Erik ten Hag, when he signed the contract with the Glazers 2 seasons ago, had all of these things included in there. And INEOS don't want him to have those things in his contract. So there's a lot more to it than, like, should we sack him? Should we not sack him? I think we do have to look at it a little bit from both sides. And if Erik ten Hag turns around and says, you know what, I don't want to work under these conditions, then, being completely honest, that probably is a red flag. You know, I want Erik ten Hag to stay 100%. I want him to work with INEOS. I want, you know, Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox and Dan Ashworth to pick the players. I want them to identify the style of play that we're going to be known for the next century, because that's how elite football clubs are run. So it's a really difficult one. But the news I've had this morning is that apparently we should find out either today or tomorrow whether he's going to stay or not. My honest opinion, this is just my opinion, is that they will part ways, I think. I think they'll agree to mutually part ways. Again, this is just my opinion. I have heard this from a couple of people as well, but at this point they haven't made it public, so I don't want to name these people. But the general consensus I'm hearing and the consensus I'm feeling from looking at the whole situation is that they probably will part ways with Erik ten Hag, I think. But I think it will be done in a mutual kind of way where, you know, it's not like Erik ten Hag's been sacked. It will be Manchester United have decided to part ways with Erik ten Hag. And the likelihood is then it will probably be Thomas Tuchel or De Zerbi or Poch. Those will be the kind of 3 options. None of which I'm particularly excited about. But at the same time, as I just said, if Erik ten Hag isn't happy with his role being stripped back, then there's no point keeping him because it's not going to work. He's going to fall out with the owners. He's going to be like, I'm not getting the players I want. You know, I want to sign this Dutch player. They won't let me. I want to sign another Ajax player. They won't let me. Like, do you see what I mean? It would already be a problem. Right, let's see what people are saying in the comment section today, guys. Everyone who's just joined the video, if you could do me a small favour and smash a like, that would be really, really appreciated. I've set a like target of 200 likes on today's show. So if you have just joined the stream, please do make sure to smash a like. It really helps to bring more people into the channel. and will allow us to do bigger and better things in the future. We're only 50 subscribers now away from, sorry, not even 50. We're 10 subscribers away from 23,000 as well. So let's see if we can hit 23,000 by the end of the stream. So yeah, go and subscribe if you haven't already. Right, let's see what people are saying in the comment section. Amnat says, if INEOS sack Erik ten Hag, what do you think is the situation with the new coach next season, and what could be the possibilities? I'm going to be honest, right? If they sack Erik ten Hag, I'm still expecting whoever the new manager is to come in and win the Europa League, to be honest. Because that has to be the minimum for us next season. Top 4 and Europa League, winning the Europa League. If that's Thomas Tuchel, he needs to do that. If that's De Zerbi, he needs to do that. If that's Mauricio Pochettino, he needs to do that. Because otherwise we may as well have just kept Erik ten Hag, you know? I think everybody in this fan base, let me know in the comment section actually, if Erik ten Hag stays, what are your expectations for next season? Let me know. Like, what's your minimum for next season if they keep Erik ten Hag? My minimum is that we win the Europa League. Top 4 is always difficult, obviously, at the moment. There's so much competition. Aston Villa, Tottenham, Arsenal, you know, there's so many good teams in and around the 6th, 7th, 8th place. So I think top 4 is always going to be hard whilst we're in a kind of rebuild. But I think by way of the Europa League, we are clearly the best team in the Europa League, without a shadow of a doubt. And now that the teams don't drop down from the Champions League, like, we are odds-on favourite to win. Let's have a look if I can see the odds, actually, for... let's have a look. Europa League... odds... I don't think they've done it yet. Yeah, they haven't done it yet because I think all the teams haven't been announced, I think. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. My expectation is definitely Europa League minimum, regardless of whether it's Erik ten Hag or not. You know, if Thomas Tuchel comes in and we don't get top 4 and we don't win the Europa League, I'm going to be looking at INEOS thinking, why the hell did we get rid of Erik ten Hag? Thomas Tuchel isn't a manager for the next decade. He's a manager for 1 or 2 years to bring immediate success. Poch, I don't personally think is a project manager. The only one that I think is maybe a question mark is De Zerbi, because I think he has the potential to be a project manager, you know, someone who could be here for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. But he could also come in and get sacked after 6 months. You know, I'd say it's 50-50. United Since 75 says, De Zerbi likes style of play over winning anything. Yeah, I mean, that's completely fair, mate. I actually agree with you there. De Zerbi, Brighton played nice football, but they still finished in the bottom half of the table. And they still were losing games, even though they were playing nice football, you know? It's only like the very, very top teams, like Man City, who can play this like... And I'm being completely honest, right? I don't actually find watching Man City entertaining at all. I think it's boring. Like, in the FA Cup final... I don't think they had a shot on target until the second half. Like, it was so boring. Yes, they had 80% of the ball. Yes, you know, Man United could barely get a hold of the ball, but it's not entertaining, is it? I think De Zerbi plays a little bit more entertaining, but as somebody just said, he's not won anything playing that style of football. And effectively, did he finish in the bottom half? I might have made that up. Let me check. Don't want to be misquoted there. Let's have a look. Premier League table. Brighton finished 11th. Yeah, I mean... Not particularly good, is it? Let's see what else is saying in the comment section. Yeah, everyone's agreeing that City are boring to watch. Yeah, they are. Right, let's have a look at the results of the poll quickly. So I've asked the question, will you lose faith in INEOS if they sack Erik ten Hag, right? So anybody watching back on repeat, let me know in the comment section. 76% of you think that you'll lose faith in INEOS if they sack Erik ten Hag, and 24% of you say no. Yeah, I'm in the yes camp, but I think obviously you've got to take it all with a pinch of salt. You know, if Erik ten Hag turns around and says, I don't want to work under these conditions, then that's not really them sacking him. That's them giving him an opportunity and him saying no. Whether or not those conditions are correct, whether or not, you know, we should let him have all the authority is another conversation for another day. You know what? Let's do a poll. It'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are on this. Let's have a look. So it's going to be a simple question. Should Ten Hag have the amount of authority he has, i.e. picking the signings, etc.? So you can let me know in the comment section if you're not watching the show live. because I think this is quite an interesting topic to discuss, actually. So the question is this: should Erik ten Hag at Manchester United have the amount of responsibilities and authority he has? I.e., he tells them who he wants and they go and sign him at any cost. He does all of the training sessions. Is there questions about them being overtrained? A lot of top teams, I don't know if people are aware of this, but usually the technical director will organise the training sessions and will tell them how many training sessions they can do. And that's apparently what INEOS want to do. Jason Wilcox will make a whole plan for the whole season of when they're going to train, nutrition and all the rest of it. And apparently the last 2 seasons it's been Erik ten Hag and his kind of coaches that have been saying, oh, we're going to go and train tomorrow, oh, the players didn't run enough, we're going to go and train tomorrow, which maybe is good, but it's not how a proper football club is run. So yeah, this is going to be a really interesting poll to see what people think, because obviously so many of you want Erik ten Hag to stay, but more of the question is actually, under what condition do you want Erik ten Hag to stay? That's the more of the question, and that's what I want to discuss with you all now. So anybody in the comment section, obviously, let me know your thoughts, and I'll read out some in a minute. Right, let's move on to some other transfer-related news then, because we have some news about a left-back. So Fabrizio Romano is reporting this morning that Manchester United are interested in signing Bournemouth left-back Kerkez. I've probably said that name wrong. I apologise if I have. This guy looks really, really good. 20 years of age. Had a really, really good season at Bournemouth. Hungarian international. I think he was signed quite recently. He was signed last season, but from AZ Alkmaar. So again, another player who's played in the Eredivisie. You can see why we're linked to him. Obviously, the Erik ten Hag link there. He was at AZ Alkmaar for 2 seasons. He looks really, really good. He can play at left back and he can play as a left winger. Available for around 20 million euros, which I think is decent. I think for his age, his profile, he's got a track record. I would go for him. I would. I think we desperately need a new left back, really, really badly. Obviously, Luke Shaw, in my opinion, is injury prone. I think he's made of glass. I think we should be looking to move him on personally. Malacia, I don't think had a particularly good first season, and obviously been injured the whole of the second season. I'm obviously going to give him another chance. I'm not going to, I'm not going to throw Malacia under the bus, but yeah, I think a left back is absolutely essential. But let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly. Romano says, what does Sir Dave Brailsford know about football? I mean, that's a really good question. I've seen a lot of people, kicking off on Twitter saying, why is somebody whose experience is in making chemicals with INEOS and cycling making the decision about the manager? And I get that. And, me or you live and breathe Manchester United. We talk about it constantly. We speak to friends about it and all the rest of it, right? But does that mean we know more than Sir Dave Brailsford? I don't know. I think it's, you're going into difficult waters there where you're trying to claim that you know more than people who are running an elite football club. I think we know more in some sense, but I think INEOS have a plan of how they want things to run, and we don't know what that is, do we? So it's easy for us to say, oh, I know more than Sir Dave Brailsford. I mean, we know more about which players have been good, which players have been bad, which games they did well in, which games they didn't do well in. And Sir Dave Brailsford and all the rest of them will be catching up on that because, they don't watch Man United every single game. They do now, but they haven't over the last 10, 20 years. But from a management perspective, we don't know what their plan is at this point, do we? That's the point. And I think that's where a lot of frustration has come because there isn't that sense of communication with the fans. We're all sat here scratching our heads. We're getting information from various different places. The information being that INEOS want a yes man, effectively. The same as Chelsea. Chelsea's new owners, the Todd Bowley, the American owners, they want a yes man. And what I mean by a yes man is they want somebody who is just a coach. Somebody who comes in, is told what to do, is given the players, and that's effectively it. And that's what INEOS want as well. And being completely honest, I actually think that is what will be best for Man United going forward. We need to safety-proof us, Put it this way, right? What happens if Erik ten Hag does well next season and then we sack him the year after? what happens then? You know what I mean? We need to know who the next manager is after that. We need to know what the succession plan is. Teams like Brighton, I know they obviously finished 11th, but Brighton are a well-run football club is the point I'm making here. They're a well-run football club, and they already know who their signings are for the next few windows. They know who their next manager targets are. Whereas Man United are just making it up as they go along. And I think INEOS is trying to change that. And I think that's where this whole manager situation has kind of arose from, because, yeah, it's difficult. It really, really is. But I just really, really hope that we get some clarity today or tomorrow, because the Euro starts next Friday. Remember that. Literally 1 week tomorrow, the Euro starts. All of people's focus is going to be on that. Players who are at the Euros aren't going to be discussing their moves. And the Euros goes on for a month. A week after the Euros finishes is when our first pre-season game is. Let that sink in for a minute. Now, maybe some of the players won't come back immediately. That's obviously a potential. But still, right? We're not going to know about the futures of any of our players or any future signings during that time. And in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, but whoever the manager is should have at least, say we're going to sign 5 players this summer, right? We should have at least 2 of those players for that pre-season game. The whole point of pre-season games is to get players to gel, to try different systems, to try different methods. And we've always been notoriously slow in the transfer market. We barely ever get to take our players on the tour. Whereas other top clubs act immediately. And I think that's the biggest issue for me here. I think INEOS delaying this is not only messing up the manager situation, but it's also messing up the transfer window a little bit. John says, my biggest issue is the fact that Joel Glazer is involved with the recruitment. I feel there may be issues and agreements between the two entities, INEOS and Glazers, on that issue. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that a lot of fans forget about. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for kind of raising awareness on that. Joel Glazer is still on the board with INEOS. Joel Glazer still has a say on every single transfer. He'll have a vote on whether Erik ten Hag stays. And there was people in the comments earlier on saying, why is Sir Dave Brailsford having a say about the manager? He doesn't know as much as us or whatever, right? I think that's debatable, but I don't think anybody can argue with the fact that we know more about football than Joel Glazer. And he is one of the people still making the decision at board level on what players are sold, what players are coming in, and on the manager. He still has a say. He still has a vote. That's public knowledge. I know INEOS are running the sports side, but one of the Glazers is still sat on that board and still has a final say on things. So it's still all going through them. It's not like they've been completely cut out of the loop and, INEOS are taking all of the power off them and they've got no say. Like, they're still there. They're still involved. They're still in those meetings. They could be sat there right now on a Zoom call. It could be Sir Dave Brailsford, Joel Glazer, and Jean-Claude Blanc all deciding about Erik ten Hag's future. Joel Glazer might be giving his opinion on it. And I think we'd all agree nobody wants Joel Glazer's opinion. I'm sorry. I know by birthright he owns the football club because of his father buying it. And now, obviously his father's dead. And now he owns it. But I don't think anybody in this fan base would take Joel Glazer's football advice if it was given to them, would they? Anyway, but that's when you really, really narrow down on it. It does make you a little bit concerned, but I think we are where we are. Like, the protests have stopped. The Glazers out movement has disappeared. So, yeah, we've just got to try and hope that what we have is going to be better than what we had before, and hope that having some football people on that board is better than having none. Even though the Glazers are still going to be there, we just have to hope that those other football people, the Omar Baradas, the Jean-Claude Blancs, etc., they drown out the Glazers. Does that make sense? Because otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Everyone who's just joined the video, could you do me a little favour and smash a like? We are nearly on 150 likes. The target is 200 likes for today's video, so please go and do that. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe as well. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. We are very, very close to 23,000 subscribers. So let's try and hit that by the end of today, shall we? We're only about 10 away. So please do all go and subscribe if you haven't already. Lumen says, Kieran, which scenario is worse? Under the Glazers only, or under the Glazers / INEOS? I think it's too early to say, mate, to be honest. I think it's way too early to say. yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll say this though. It doesn't look like we're going to be spending big money this summer, from what I'm hearing. We have to sell players. So in that sense, nothing has really changed versus how it was under the Glazers. I mean, the Glazers, they spent a lot of money. They did. You know, people say, oh, they didn't spend any money. They didn't spend any of their own money, but they did spend the club's money and they took out more debt to spend. So I don't think we're going to suddenly, this window see us spend 500 million or whatever it is some people think. I think we'll be lucky if we spend the same amount as we did last summer, net spend, which was about 100 million. I think it will be around that. So the biggest thing is that we just have to hope that that money is spent better, because the way the money has been spent over the last decade has been terrible. And I think we'd all agree on that. And we just have to hope that even if we're not spending more money, hopefully we're getting more for our money. Does that make sense? Yeah. Right, let's see what else we had planned for the show. I've got a couple of other bits I wanted to talk about. I'll come back to the chat in a minute as well. Did anybody see the Christian Eriksen goal last night, by the way? Unbelievable. Go and watch that if you haven't seen it. That will bring a smile to your face this morning. A player who probably should be leaving, or definitely should be leaving, but yeah. As well, I just wanted to point out, 6 years ago to the day, we signed Diogo Dalot. So business can be done earlier on in the transfer window, People saying, oh, we've got to wait for this, we've got to wait for that. Oh, it's only their first window. Like, other top clubs are going out and doing business. They are. We're sat on our hands at the moment, scratching our heads about who the next manager is going to be. Putting out, in my opinion, fake stories that we're putting in bids for João Neves and Lenny Yoro. I mean, why would any of these players move to Man United at the moment when they don't even know who the manager is? And I think that a lot of these transfer stories at the moment, being honest, as I've said always on this channel, right, I just bring you the news, okay? I bring you the news and we discuss it. But a lot of these stories that are coming out at the moment feel very much like a smokescreen. So we're talking about, oh, they're going to put in a bid for João Neves. Oh, they're going to buy Lenny Yoro. Oh, we're going to get Sesko. Like, it's all trying to move us away from the actual topic, the important topic, which is who the manager's going to be, what the style of play is going to be, what the plan is. That's what we should be talking about. But instead, we're being drip-fed this information, like we did under the Glazers, that we're going to sign this player, we're going to sign this player. Oh, it's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. So you just got to be careful of that. Right, let's see what the results of the poll are saying. So the question I asked is this. Should Ten Hag have the amount of authority that he has at the moment, i.e. picking the signings? 55% of you say no, and 45% of you say yes. And I'm in the agreement of the people who say no. I don't think he should... I don't think he should have the amount of authority he has, to be honest. I don't. I think he should have a say, but I think he should be given like a list of 3 or 4 players that INEOS team have decided, and they say to him, give us your 1, 2, 3, 4. Which is your favourite, which is your least favourite, and we'll try and get them. Like, that's how it should work. He shouldn't be, just saying, oh, I like Anthony, let's go and sign him. Oh, Onana was good at Ajax, let's get him. Oh, yeah, Malacia was good when I was in the Eredivisie, let's get him. Oh, Christian Eriksen came and trained with us after he had that horrible health scare. Oh, let's bring him in. Oh, Mason Mount was quite good, actually, when 3 years ago he was on loan at Vitesse in the Eredivisie. Oh, let's bring him. Do you see what I mean? Like, that's not how a top football club runs, is it? It's not. So, yeah, I think we're all in agreement with that. Amnat says, Kieran, let me know your thoughts on INEOS. Slowly working behind closed doors and they don't want to leak any news. I don't know, mate. It's hard to say because there has been quite a few leaks still. Obviously, that story that broke on the eve of the FA Cup final saying that Erik ten Hag was going to be sacked. They obviously backtracked on that. They obviously saw the fans' upheaval with that and they've now got a difficult decision to make. So I think the leaks have been a little bit better since INEOS have taken over the sporting side, but I still do think we have leaks, and I think that will probably always go on at a club of Man United size, Billy says, we're a laughing stock. We were linked to every manager, and yet we can't decide on who our next manager is going to be. Yeah, it's fair. But I mean, if you flip that on its head, you might say that maybe they're just taking their time about it, but I don't get it. They've been here since January. They know what managers were going to be available. Like, what are they doing? Somebody was telling me yesterday that it's something to do with Erik ten Hag's still on holiday. He's back tomorrow. And that person told me that they were parting ways with Erik ten Hag. This was just one person who told me this, but and that apparently they're waiting until he comes back from holiday, which is tomorrow, to make a public announcement. But we'll wait and see. Obviously, that's just one person who said that. It's not been kind of put out there publicly yet. Somebody says, why can't we be doing business at the moment? Isn't the whole point that INEOS wants to be in charge of sales without Erik ten Hag's input? So why does it matter if he stays or goes in terms of transfers? I think, to be honest, mate, I think it's more to do with convincing players to come. Players want to know who the manager's going to be. They want to know what the style of play is going to be. They want to know, do you know what I mean? Like, imagine if you're João Neves, right? You're 19 years of age. You're Portuguese. You're playing for Benfica. You're starting every single week in the Portuguese league for Benfica, and you're from Portugal. And you have Man United come knocking, who've just finished 8th, are looking like they're going to sack their manager. You can't tell them who the new manager is going to be because you haven't announced Erik ten Hag's going to be sacked. Like, why would you go and join that? You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like a stable club for these young players to come in and develop. You know, the Lenny Yoros, the João Neveses, the Benjamin Sesko's. You know, why would they do that? And even if you look at it further in depth, we don't have a director of football. Dan Ashworth isn't able to work for Man United because of Newcastle. And we don't have a CEO either, because Omar Barada's also not allowed to work for Man United yet. So at the moment, we don't have any of the people to put any of these things in place. Imagine if you're that player looking at Manchester United thinking, they've just finished 8th. The manager, God knows what's going on with the manager. We don't know what the style of play is going to be. We don't know who the new manager is going to be. How do I know that the new manager likes me? You don't even know who the new manager is. You know, they might sit there and say, how do you know that, I don't know, Thomas Tuchel likes me as a player? You haven't even signed him as the manager yet. You know, I would, if I was a young player like João Neves or Lenny Yoro, I would run from Manchester United. I wouldn't go anywhere near it, to be honest. I wouldn't, you know? There are so many clubs interested in these players. Man United would be the bottom of my list at the moment. I know we've got the history. I know we're the biggest club in the world, all the rest of it. And obviously I love Man United, but looking at it from an outside perspective, or if I'm the agent of one of these players, I'm the the player's manager. I'm going to look at this situation and be like, my job is to manage your life and your career and all the rest of it. If I'm their agent, I'm going to be looking at the situation thinking, don't go anywhere near Man United. So it's difficult. Obviously, yeah, it is very, very difficult. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. It's been a really, really good stream today. Had some really good conversation. I will be back live at 6 o'clock UK time. If anything breaks during the day, obviously I do go live as well. We are hoping to get an answer, a definitive answer on Erik ten Hag today or tomorrow. Let me just read out a couple more comments. Everyone who's just joined the video as well, actually, could you do me a small favor and smash a like and subscribe? We're literally like 5 subscribers away from 23k now, so I would really, really appreciate it if everyone went and subscribed, just so we can hit that next milestone on the channel. I'm just going to see if any other news has dropped since we've gone live, just quickly. No, it seems quite quiet today. Obviously, everyone's waiting for the news about the manager. That's the big story, isn't it? Everyone's waiting desperately. Let me just double check on this story here. Yeah, I mean, the story this morning is that that INEOS is still speaking to other managers and they're still deciding. So God knows what that means. But I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. I will be back at 6 o'clock. So yeah, have a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have, don't forget to leave a like. Drop a comment once the video goes live as well. It really helps the channel. Let me know your thoughts. Have your say. That's what the purpose of this channel is. Have a great day, everybody. I'll speak to you all at 6 o'clock, unless, obviously, any breaking news happens. But yeah, make sure you like and subscribe before you go. Have a good day, everybody, and I'll speak